Well, welcome back to listeners of our Coach Talk series of interviews where I speak one-on-one with executive coaches who share their coach talk that they use with their clients. And it's Juliette Robertson here, owner of howtocoachyourstaff.com.au. And today I'm really pleased that Suellen Hughes from Amica Coaching can share her insights with us all around the topic of how to use a coaching approach to address underperformance and also to keep high achievers motivated. So it's a big topic today. Suellen is a certified master coach and the director of amicacoaching.com.au based in Sydney, Australia. She has global corporate experience and specialises in improving performance and personal satisfaction through measurable behavioural change. Very important. So Suellen, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Juliette.
Hi. Listen, I'm really keen to hear your advice today because so many managers face these issues. So to start us off, I ask all our coaches first to tell us generally what you've come to know makes the big difference between, say, a top manager who's performing really well and other managers in business.
Okay, well, I'm pleased to be here and able to share in this important topic as well. So to answer your question, what makes the big difference between top managers or successful managers and the less successful ones? Well, for me, that's a fairly easy one. And what it comes down to is that the successful managers talk to their staff early on and they address the behaviours before things escalate. So, they nip it in the bud, so to speak. And this applies equally to underperformers and high achievers. The behaviours and the coaching looks a bit different in each case. But the important thing is to talk to the staff member about what's going on and why.
Okay, so they're very proactive as opposed to
yes.
other managers. Okay. Well, these top managers, what are they doing specifically from a leadership perspective, and what kind of impact do you see that behaviour actually has on the team?
Top managers, I think, are almost always, and I say almost because there's an exception to every rule, but they're almost always excellent communicators. They're really in touch with what's going on with their team members, not only about how the actual team members individually are performing, but the dynamics between the team members and what's going on personally for each staff member. Sometimes it's almost like they have some kind of radar tuned in to the staff members and to the team, and they really pick up on any changes or signal interference. And the less good managers, unfortunately, it's as if their radar is just a bit out of whack. They're either not tuned in or they're too busy worrying about everything else, and they don't pick up those things. Or if they do pick it up, they just don't do anything about it.
But it just makes me think, is it really the difference between being a very task-orientated person versus a more people-focused person?
Yeah, I think that might be a way to think about it. It's just keeping the radar out for what's going on with your team, and instead of being focused on just your own tasks and activities.
I know new managers in business, generally speaking, when they get they're promoted into a position of management, they're usually very technically competent at what they're doing. So they want to make sure that technically things will be running really well. But often when we're put into management, our role changes, doesn't it? And we actually need to develop those people skills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the comfort zone is to do the things that that you're good at, and that's often, as you say, the technical skills. And the people skills are often the new part of the role and the part that people feel less comfortable with.
So if those new managers can focus more on those people skills, that's really going to help. Yeah. So, Ellen, you contributed to our ebook, Coach Talk for Managers, where you provided some really great coaching scripts to show managers how to use a coaching approach to address, you looked at both underperformance and then also at the opposite end, how to address high performers and keep them really inspired, particularly when you can't give them the things that they're asking for, such as a salary increase. Let's talk about underperformance first in a little bit more depth. What's the hardest thing that you see that new managers face when handling an underperforming staff member?
Okay. Well, I think there are three key things here, Juliette. First of all, sometimes new managers just don't know what to say or how to address the situation, so they avoid it altogether. Back to what we were talking about before, it's probably the area or possibly the area that they're least comfortable with. So they know that something's not right, but they just don't know what to say. They let it go. They hope that things will get better, but, in my experience, this is rarely the case. And if it's not tackled early, then things just get worse for everyone, because the other team members can see the underperformance as well, and they see it's not being addressed, and they quickly, lose respect for the new manager. Right. So, that's the first thing. The second thing is sometimes the staff themselves just don't realise that they're underperforming. They think that they're doing the best given whatever training they've had, or no one's ever told them any differently. So, they're just plodding along thinking that they're doing fine, and they don't realise that they're actually not achieving the goals that they should be.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would certainly make it difficult for the managers when the staff member doesn't even think that they're doing something.
Definitely.
Right.
Complete
Okay.
disconnect between the two, yeah.
Right.
And then the third thing is that the staff members don't have clearly defined goals. So no one has actually sat down with them and said to them, this is what I'd like you to achieve, and this is how you need to go about it, this is how I'm going to measure you. Or they may have inherited some goals or targets, particularly in sales-type environments, this is often the case. A new staff member comes in and they inherit the targets of, the previous employee or the targets that a previous manager has set, and there's no ownership to them. So they're not committed to buy in, and of course, then they can blame any underperformance on the goal or the target.
Right, so then the new manager not only has to face addressing the issue, but also the skills of how to sit down and set goals with that person effectively, right? Yeah. So they've got a few challenges there. So in our ebook, you provided a simple but effective coaching script that a manager can just pick up and really use as a template, if you like, which will make this conversation a lot easier for them. When and why would a manager use a coaching approach with a staff member who is underperforming? I'm thinking, why not just read them the rule book?
Yeah, good question. And I know it can be very tempting to read the rule book. And to be honest, sometimes if all else fails, then unfortunately that might be required. But, the rule book should be the last resort. What's really much better for everyone else is to address what's really going on. And I guess I can think of 4 key things around that. One is, is there a skills gap? Maybe it's a training issue that the person just needs some more training or development. Secondly, there might be something going on with someone's life outside of work. As much as we try to keep the two separate, it's really very difficult to do that. And, the personal life does impact on the work life. Thirdly, again, as we were talking before, does the staff member really realise what's expected of them? Are there clear goals set for them? Do they know what they need to achieve? And then fourthly, spending time to coach the staff member along the lines of the coaching script. It really just brings the issues out into the open and makes the performance expectations clear. And then the staff member can take responsibility for their own behaviours. Mm. I really, I always prefer the carrot over the stick. It's the great thing about coaching is that it really respects an adult-to-adult relationship. Right.
It's quite a self-discipline, I suppose, too, for a new manager to sit down and really think through how do I want to approach this situation, because our natural tendency would be to go in and try and fix the problem and focus on the task. So, again, it's coming back to that taking the people approach, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you think just, of a customer service experience, if you speak to someone and they say, oh, well, there's nothing I can do, that's the rules, that's how it is, that's really what you're doing with your staff member by reading them the rule book, so they just disengage. Whereas if you're having that same conversation with the customer service rep and they're saying, I really understand your issue and, is there anything that I could do to help resolve it, then, you really feel that they're engaging with you and trying to make things better. And that's obviously a much better result.
Can I want to put you on the spot, Suellen. Can you just share with us some of the lines that you would use in this situation to start a conversation with that person?
Just to start the conversation off, I think it's important just to try to gauge from the staff member just how they think they're performing and how aware they are. So, it might be a simple line that says, so I'd just like to spend some time to talk to you today about your performance. How do you feel that you're performing in your role? Mm-hmm. So, try to get them speaking about that. If they're quite closed and say, oh, I'm okay, then you could follow that up with a follow-on question. Are you clear about the goals and the targets that we've set for you? Yes or no, but at least that gives you some direction then about, where is the person at. So that might be the way that you start the conversation.
Okay, thanks. So then you can start exploring with them how they, as you said, how they feel they're going against those goals. And if there aren't any clear goals, well, there's an obvious area that needs to be talked about as well.
Yeah, gives you the roadmap about which direction to head.
And in that conversation, you could also explore those training issues that you were talking about. Instead, maybe it could be a training issue or a personal issue that's preventing them from delivering to the best of their ability.